This is the IDP After Show.
Hello and welcome to the IDP After Show. I'm your host Jase Abbey, and today on the show, if one Jason wasn't enough, I'm joined by another in the form of the amazing IDP mind that is Jason King of Dynasty League Football. This is the second pod in an 8-part series on the IDP After Show where we go division by division discussing our favorite IDP assets. Jason, I'm stoked to have you join me on the show today to discuss the NFC South. Been a big fan of yours for years. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jase. I really appreciate you having me on.
It's really good to have you. It's really good to have you. So for anyone that's been hiding under a rock and isn't aware of the fine work you do, tell us a little bit about what you get up to over at DLF.
Yeah, I've been covering IDP for, I guess about 3 years now. I started writing kind of the outset of the COVID pandemic to give myself something else to do. I used to write quite a bit early on in my professional career and got away from it. And I've always been a big sports fan and just kind of missed writing. So figured I'd give IDP a shot on the writing side, and DLF was kind enough to give me the chance. So really kind of crank out a couple articles a month over there. I've been working on the waiver wire series for a couple of seasons now, and keep up with top 150 rankings and rookie rankings and whatnot.
Good stuff. Awesome. So without further ado, let's dive into the NFC South. Now, Jason and I have agreed on a top 10 list of our favorite guys in the division, and we're going to count them down from 10 to 1, discussing each guy as we go and why we have them ranked where we do. So I'll kick us off because I want my guests to introduce the guy in the number 1 spot. So at number 10, we've got Lavonte David. So the legend, Lavonte David. He's 33 years old and he's still producing like he's in the prime of his career. 128 combined tackles last year, 3 sacks, a couple of forced fumbles, and 5 pass breakups. Now, clearly in dynasty formats, David wouldn't be in our number 10 spot, right, Jason? But if you already have him on your roster, or if you prefer redraft formats, David is about as reliable as it gets. Every down, linebackers are thin on the ground these days, and this guy has played every down pretty much for the last God knows how many seasons. 17 out of the last 19 games last year, he was playing 100% of the snaps. So if our listeners aren't already aware, the IDP show has hosted 29 best ball IDP drafts recently. And by the way, David Keltown has written a killer article discussing the takeaways from all of that data for our subscribers. Jason, on average, take a guess at where David was taken in terms of linebacker rankings.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to go with 38.
He was 29, so
okay.
You're not far off. But that's 5 spots behind Jordan Brooks, who may not even play until midway through the season, right? And 9 spots behind Josie Jewell, who has a talented rookie breathing down his neck. I think that's crazy value for David. So we both had David in our sort of 7 to 10 range on our individual lists. So I know we sort of feel similarly about him. What's your take here?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, he's just an amazing guy. I mean, he's, of course, 33 now, coming up on his 12th season, just still playing at this elite level. Has been one of the best coverage linebackers in the game for a while now, and really still is. For fantasy, he's kind of this high-end LB3. And you know, it's at 33 years old, you just kind of wonder if there's this cliff around the next turn, but I mean, he's just as solid as they get. You mentioned he wouldn't be this high for dynasty, and this division, for this division itself, it's really kind of an older division with a lot of the assets that are here. So he may still be kind of the top 10, even in terms of dynasty. I know he's on a 1-year deal, came back to Tampa Bay after kind of testing free agency just for a little bit this offseason, but I mean, you can do a lot worse than Lavonte David as your LB3.
For sure. Okay, do you want to introduce number 9?
Yeah. So I had him ranked number 9, but looking back at it, I really kind of feel like I'm a little too low on him. So it's Frankie Luvu. So Frankie Luvu, as some people will say, with the Panthers. Really the first time last year, played more than 500 snaps. And really, I was kind of surprised at just how well he played against the run. Of course, he's got, some shortcomings in coverage. He's not alone in that aspect when it comes to linebackers, but 87 solos, 16 assists, just a great big play upside. He had 7 sacks last year. He has that in his background. Came into the league as a rush linebacker out of Washington State. I think I had him ninth because I was just kind of concerned a little bit about, the transition in Carolina with Evero coming over from Denver. I know they're not going to play 2 full-time linebackers in that scheme. And I guess I just have a little bit of concerns that maybe, Thompson is more of the field general full-time guy. And we may see Luvu snaps, dip by just a little bit. But, he's also got that upside to slide outside to the edge and rush the passer. So I was probably overreacting a little bit to the scheme change in Carolina. But yeah, number 9 is Frankie Luvu. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I really like Luvu. I wrote about him in the IDP show Draft Kit. And yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying there. I'm a bit concerned with Evero. There's always a concern when a new DC comes in, isn't there? Right? All the guys they're going to be playing at the same level and the same number of snaps they were playing in the years previous. I do think that Thompson and Luvu can coexist in the same scheme, but I am projecting a slight dip in snap volume for Luvu. I think even if he gets 750 snaps, though, I think he can still produce on a similar level. Maybe slightly below what we saw last year. Will he get 100 combined tackles again? I wouldn't bet big on it. But there's a lack of other sort of viable options on that roster. So yeah, unless you're a big sort of Brandon Smith fan, I don't think we're going to see a huge drop off from Luvu this year. Yeah, I agree. Number 9's a good spot for him.
Yeah, and those 7 sacks were probably going to be a little bit hard to replicate.
Yeah, he didn't have the pressure volume to support 7 sacks really. He'd need to produce more pressure, I think, to maintain that number going forward. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from. A slight drop off in snaps, maybe a slight drop off in production, but yeah, I'm a big fan. He was the LB5 in Big 3 scoring last year, which surprised me a little bit, I've got to admit. But he's got every chance under the new DC, so let's see what he can do.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to overrate him a little bit. I think we have a tendency to think really fondly of players that we don't really expect to play at a really high level and produce for us at like a position 1 type level, and Luvu did for us last year. And so I think it's got a natural tendency to really like someone and overrate them a little more than you might typically do.
For sure, yeah. Maybe one for best ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Great best ball pick.
This was the IDP After Show.